Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds.
Hey everybody, this is Evan and John, and you're listening to The Boomer and X Show.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us on another episode of the Boomerand Show. My name is John. This is my good friend Evan.
Hey,
Evan, how you doing today?
doing all right.
We're in our studio, but we're still on old equipment because we haven't got the kinks worked out of the digital recorder, the mixer. We picked up some microphones.
Yeah, it just kind of sucks. I mean, I know you have no idea what's going on right over here, but it's not working.
Well, it's not working yet.
It's annoying. It's only coming out of the left ear.
Yeah.
And it's only recording on the left side. So.
All right, I've got a little bit of I got to get this off of my chest. When we did an early episode. Back in, I guess, late December, maybe right at the 1st of January, I made a reference to my holy trinity of TV, David Letterman, Stephen Colbert, and Jon Stewart. We know we're losing Letterman in 3 months after 33 years of his late-night talk show. Colbert has given up his show, his format. He will be taking over for Letterman. But we found out Tuesday night that Jon Stewart, after 17 years on The Daily Show, is hanging it up. And I don't know where I'm going to get my news.
I wonder, because it still hasn't said, what he's going to do next. Do you know, being such a big fan?
Well, I can't even hazard a guess. But what I've been thinking about a little bit more is, what does Comedy Central do? Where do they go with that time slot? Do they try to maintain a similar type program? Sort of a satirical look, if you will, at news and current events, or do they go in a different direction altogether? Anyway, I think Comedy Central really needs to hit it out of the.
Did it say why he was leaving?
No, at least not Tuesday night. Now, I haven't watched Wednesday's show yet, and I've got it recorded. I haven't watched Thursday's show yet. I'm sure he'll get into that. And I think it was going to be pretty late in the year. I think we've actually got several months.
Oh, yeah.
Before. I think there's a need there. I don't think I'm overstating things when I say there's actually a need for what he does and for what Colbert did. But Colbert's not going to be doing that anymore. He's just going to be hosting a late night talk show. I don't that whole pretending to be something in order to make fun of that something he's pretending to be, which is what Colbert did. Well, that's not going to be a part of what he's doing. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Anyway, that's I hate to see all three of them, everything kind of changing with that a little bit, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Friday the 13th is coming up. In fact, when we release this, it'll be Friday the 13th. You and I both did a little research and trying to find out.
Very little. 1 page.
But we both came up with the same thing. There's nothing really concrete, but it's possible it goes back to the
Jesus,
yeah. The 12 apostles, the 13th one there being
the Last Supper,
being the unlucky one, and the fact that the crucifixion took place on a Friday. As a little kid, the name Good Friday baffled me, and because you heard the story,
and
it's like, well, why is that good? And I remembered asking the question. I remember getting an explanation, and I wasn't convinced. It just really seemed like a pretty crappy Friday. So anyway, but again, in looking at research and doing some reading, they said that really before the 19th century it wasn't a deal, and really wasn't much of a deal at all before the 20th century. It really,
yeah, I guess it's more of just superstitious. Like you said, there's nothing. There are some organizations that took some stats and stuff, but it's not a. It's more of a in your head kind of thing.
But I will tell you this: I've been in a lot of high-rise buildings that did not have a 13th floor on the on the elevator,
and that's just because the number 13 is unlucky.
Yeah,
and their Judas is the number 13 guy. And
well,
I mean,
unlucky. I can't attest to why it wasn't on the elevator, Judas or whatever. But I've been in a lot of high-rise buildings
that didn't have a 13.
Yes, did not have a 13th floor in the elevator, and there are airlines that don't have a 13th row. Even Continental Airline, up until they were bought out by United, in their hubs would not have a gate 13. So for all of the, it doesn't really mean a whole lot, and it's, just a kind of a, quote, silly superstition.
Well, just superstitions in general. I mean, back in sailor days, they would ditch people on desert islands because they thought they were bad luck.
They were bad.
Yeah. I mean, superstitions. What was that institution in Asheville?
Yeah, the Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute in Asheville, North Carolina. Now, I lived in Asheville back from 89 to 92, and I don't ever remember hearing of this place. Maybe it wasn't there then, or maybe I was just...
You never had to go into the Phobia Institute?
Well, no, but if I'd known about it, I might have gone and checked it out.
Check me out for all my phobias.
Do you have any superstitions?
No, but when I was a kid, for whatever reason, I wouldn't step on the cracks of the sidewalk.
Okay.
I don't know if that was superstitious or just OCD. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a very OCD person, but I just, for whatever reason, wouldn't step on the cracks.
I certainly don't have a problem with Friday the 13th. I don't consider myself a superstitious person with regards to what is like breaking mirrors or walking under ladders or whatever kind of stuff like that. I will, however, if I do something and there's a good outcome, let's, for instance, say, watch a football game and I'm wearing a certain shirt. Maybe the game goes well. I may say, well, it's my lucky shirt, I'll wear it again. I mean, I know, obviously, that it didn't have anything to do with the outcome of the game. But to that extent, I might refer to something as my lucky shirt or something along those lines. I don't think anything about Friday the 13th in terms of not being active. According to this article, roughly 20 million people in America just
have that phobia.
And don't do anything on that day.
Yeah, I saw it. Actually, a personal story of mine. I actually got in an accident on a Friday the 13th.
Oh, yeah?
And so I was thinking a lot of accidents happen on Friday the 13th, but it's actually in reverse. So many people are aware and cautious because it's the Friday the 13th that accident rates are lower that day. Yeah. It's pretty strange.
So instead of drive defensively, drive like you think it's Friday the 13th.
Like death is out to get you.
Every day. Yeah, so anyway, there's just a little something on Friday the 13th. It is, as a weather nerd, I'll tell you this. Today, February 12th, marks the coldest temperature ever recorded in the state of Louisiana. 1899.
Oh, I thought you meant today.
Oh, God.
Like, what? It was like 60.
1899, it was a severe Arctic outbreak that covered much of the nation, and records were set all over the place. Take a guess how cold and where.
Okay, I'm going to say Shreveport, 22 degrees Fahrenheit.
22?
Yeah.
Above?
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, it's been 5 in my lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
So, but you're close on the location, Minden, which is about 30 miles from Shreveport, and 16 below zero.
Wow.
Yeah. So now we see how some folks where we live
Oh man.
react to a 40-degree day.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a day approaching zero?
And was it snowing and sleet and ice and all this, or just cold?
I couldn't.
Oh.
I couldn't tell you. It may have been preceded by a snowstorm. Now, for it to get that cold, I'd say that you had clear skies at night. There may have been snow cover on the ground. I don't know, but again, this was
1800s.
1899. It was 116 years ago. If you remember back to last winter here locally, we had several freezing rains.
Two or three. Huh?
Yeah, at least freezing rain, sleet events, a little bit of snow. This winter down here at least has been very mild. In fact, we've already got here again on February 12th. We've got some things blooming. We do have some more cold weather coming, but our listeners that are in any way, shape, or form interested in weather trivia will like this. Even though it's been mild down here, up in the Northeast, around the Great Lakes, and up into southeastern Canada, where we got some friends, they've had quite a winter all in the past 3 weeks. For instance, Boston, Massachusetts, has received 72 inches of snow in an 18-day span, when they average about 41 inches for an entire winter.
Man.
So, even though it's been mild here, there are places that are really having a big time winter, and it was kind of late to get started there. Before that 18 days, they were actually not having that snowy of a winter. So it has been very active up there for about the past 3 weeks. But they had two of their. Now this is Boston. Boston A has been around for a long time.
Yep.
And B sits in a place where you would think would get a lot of snow. 2 of their top 7 biggest snowstorms have occurred in the past 3 weeks. Ever.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fun to see, but from what I'm reading, it's way past the fun stage. People can't get out,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they can't get out, yeah. One guy, I did see an article, and I saw a really great picture. One guy in Rhode Island managed to have a good time with it. He built a 16-foot tall snowman.
Wow.
For his daughters, and I saw a picture of it. Instead of just balling up snow, and what he did was he had a plywood, a 6-sided plywood thing like you would pour cement into. And he just put that. He filled it up with snow.
Yeah.
And then he leveled it off, and then he put another smaller one up on top of that. Filled it up with snow. Now I don't know how he got the snow that high, but anyway, he filled that up with snow, and then he put something on top of that. And so
I made an 8-foot snowman.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yep. We, I guess, up in Natchitoches when we got a good snow 2011?
Yeah.
Or 2010, 2011. Yeah. But I had these, they're called jump stilts, and while I wear them, I stand about 7'5". They make you pretty tall. And me and my sister just went out there and all the snow in the yard, rolled it up, and she just kept handing me handfuls, and I kept packing it on there, and it was taller than me, about 5 inches taller, and I stood about 7'5". So 8 foot.
I have unfortunately managed to miss out on snow kind of no matter where I've been. I mean, typically if you grow up in Louisiana, you're not going to see a lot.
Oh yeah.
I saw some. I remember actually a Super Bowl Sunday. And it was the first Super Bowl the Steelers were in. They were playing the Minnesota Vikings. It was being played in New Orleans, but it was before the Superdome. It was in old Tulane Stadium. And so it was even very cold in New Orleans, but I think we had 6 inches fall. And this would have been, 1975, something like that. But I lived in Asheville, North Carolina for 3 winters, and you would think, in a span of 3 winters, you would manage to see something. And no, I think the grand total of the 3 winters I was there was maybe 10 inches of the whole time I was there. I moved away in late April of '92, and then the super blizzard, which really lived up to the name, the super blizzard of '93, brought them 2 feet of snow.
Wow.
And several hours of thunder and lightning and snow all at the same time. But I missed out. So anyway, there's our weather segment for the day, and for this show. We won't always do weather, but there's actually some stuff going on, so I thought I'd chat about it just a little bit. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to talk about President's Day, and then we're going to talk about the 2 presidents' birthdays that are celebrated on President's Day. Welcome back to the Boomer and X Show. We'll chat a little bit about, first of all, the holiday of President's Day. It technically is not President's Day.
Why? It's someone's birthday, right?
Still technically is. It was never changed in the, according to the federal government, it was never actually changed from Washington's birthday to President's Day. It was set for February 22nd, and then in 1968, the Uniform Monday Holiday Bill was introduced, and that was taking, days like Veterans Day, Washington's birthday, and putting them on a Monday so that there could be more 3-day weekends for workers to take off. So certain holidays were just put on a Monday, and it was during the debate in Congress to make that change that the idea of renaming the holiday President's Day in honor of both Abraham Lincoln and George Washington was put forth. Lincoln's birthday was already being celebrated in some states. It wasn't a federal holiday. It was just being celebrated in some states. But the new setup, the new rules, it took effect in 1971, and really then President's Day started really kind of becoming more of a retail sales, an excuse to run sales and try to drum up business. And so that's kind of the whole background of President's Day. It's still technically Washington's birthday on the federal books, but the President's Day is kind of a thing for, furniture sales and stuff like that.
Interesting. What else?
That's about it for President's Day. I know you've got some information on George Washington.
Yeah, we were going to talk about, actually I think we're going to try and do a whole episode and just talk about presidents, influential presidents for us, and then we just decided to take it down a little, talk about a little bit more instead of just one topic. But we decided to at least hit the first president. Well, how did we figure it out? Like, I was going to do Barack Obama and George Washington.
Right. Well, I was going to, in addition to Lincoln, I was going to do a little something about Teddy Roosevelt.
That's right. Yeah.
We just decided we have enough. We don't want to stretch it out too long.
Yeah.
And so we said, well, Washington and Lincoln, that'll be plenty.
Oh, well, especially because it's President's Day and it's about them too.
It's about those
two. So
it
works out
right,
perfect.
Right.
So I actually listened to the audiobook George Washington, A Life, his biography, and man, that thing was long. I think it was like 35 CDs.
What? Wow.
It was long. So I could talk about George Washington all day. But I guess some stuff that one of the main things that stuck out to me about him was the way he would kind of charge into battle sometimes. Mm-hmm. There was a couple of occurrences, but one that comes to mind is one time he got 2 horses shot out from under him, and his jacket had 4 musket holes, in it, and never touched his skin. I mean, he was fine. And just think about a president like that, man, just running through battle like that.
He was spared.
Yeah, he had the big
man
man on his side.
It sounds like when you have that many close calls and nothing happens, I'd say that you were spared for bigger and better things, definitely.
But he he not only, I guess, personal life, he was very cash poor, but very land rich. I mean, he was actually the richest of all the presidents because he owned 60,000 acres and 300 slaves. But, like I said, he was real cash poor. And
how did he come to acquire 60,000 acres of land?
It's kind of a lot of it was married into land, and some of it was inherited, in his dad's stuff, and but that's pretty much the short of it. But I mean, not only him, but a lot of our founding fathers were very cash poor. So, I mean, he wasn't, the only one.
Right.
He invented the mule. Did you know that?
I do now.
It was pretty neat. And you know why he invented it?
Why?
Because of money. Smaller than the big old his. What did he call it? Something of Lafayette. It was the Marquis de Lafayette.
Okay.
I guess
is that a breed of horse?
Either yes, that, or that was the name of his horse. I'm not sure. But he bred it with the donkeys that the King of Spain gave him.
Okay.
And came out with the mule. But yeah, he did that because they were smaller and they ate less food.
Ate less food, huh?
But,
well, what did he do with his? What did he grow on his 60,000 acres? I mean, he probably didn't farm
actually,
all of it.
And here's another thing: is he introduced crop rotation.
Okay.
So in saying that, he tried a couple of different crops. Tobacco.
Right.
I think he eventually switched over to like wheat and stuff because it was easier on the land. Tobacco takes a lot out of the soil apparently, and he had a trouble selling it and trouble growing it and all kind of problems. Something probably not a lot of people knew until the Super Bowl. They were doing a little interview with him, and he was in the White House kitchen, and he was showing newest batch of beer he just made.
Mm-hmm.
It was from the honey that Michelle, I guess, harvested there at the White House too. So I knew just because of my research that he did beer. Mm-hmm. The only other president was George Washington, and a lot of his.
He made beer at the White House?
Well, he was actually more of a moonshiner, really. It was real strong stuff.
Oh, okay.
And he was a distiller, pretty much.
Okay.
So, tell me something about
Lincoln, President Abraham Lincoln. I'm trying to remember what I was doing during history classes. Well,
because you learned so much.
I learned so much when I started doing this research. Now I will profess my guilt on this. As I went through life, early years, teen years, 20s, I always seemed to just have more natural curiosity about things of nature, whether it was weather, whether it was astronomy, whether it was geography, geology.
So the sciences?
The sciences, things about Earth, really always intrigued me more than the accomplishments
of some dead guy.
Yeah. Now, so maybe I was exposed to this stuff and didn't retain a whole lot of it. Maybe a lot of it just was kind of skimmed over so quickly that it could have been. We didn't. But anyway, I found myself learning a lot of things. And as I would say over the past probably 15 years or so, I've become much more appreciative of significant eras or aspects of people's accomplishments, human endeavor, so on and so forth. But I really found out a lot of stuff that I didn't know. I mean, we all know about being the president during the war between the states. We know about the Emancipation Proclamation, but there was a lot of stuff that I just found in reading about this. One little trivial thing, did you know that he was a very accomplished wrestler?
No, but it makes sense. I mean, he's so big.
Yeah, he was big. He long reach, but he had approximately 300 matches, only lost once, and is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame.
I did
Yes,
not know
he
that.
is.
Was it that in college or just lifelong?
I guess it was, certainly his early days. I don't think once he got into politics he was, doing a lot of this. But when he did it, he was a very accomplished wrestler. His mother died when he was 9 from poisoned milk.
Huh.
And
like poisoned by somebody else, or just
milk. I don't know if she had a reaction to the milk or there was something in the milk, but it had to do with milk. It was very, very bad, and she died.
She drank it anyway.
Well, I don't think she knew. But he was only 9. He never had a President Lincoln, according to the reading I did, never had a close relationship with his father. He did not admire his father. So he...
in the movie where he was the vampire slayer, he didn't have a very good relationship with his dad either.
None of my research indicated anything about...
Vampire slayer?
Vampire slaying.
Dude, you need to do some more research.
I guess I need to dig a little deeper because I didn't see anything about that. He only had about 18 months of formal education, and it was scattered around.
I know he did a lot of self-taught.
Yeah, he did a lot.
Practice.
In fact, he became an attorney, but he never went to law school. Mm-hmm. He did not have a law degree. He studied for the bar. He passed it. He became an attorney. His law career, he started, and then he went and he became a representative from the state of Illinois for 1 2-year term. He did not run for re-election because of his opposition to the Mexican-American War. Made him unpopular, so he didn't run for re-election. But he just went back to practicing law. He actually worked his way up to, by 1849, argued a case in front of the Supreme Court. He did not win that case, but he did actually argue a case before the Supreme Court. He once got a client who was accused of murder acquitted.
I heard of that one.
Based on the fact that an eyewitness said that they could identify his client as being at the scene of the crime at night because of the full moon. Attorney Lincoln looked up in an almanac and saw that the moon was indeed not full that night in question, and that it would have been too dark to make a positive ID, and the guy ended up being found not
So I guess
guilty.
he was a defense lawyer?
Well, he did some criminal stuff, but he did business stuff as well.
Oh, okay,
I think back then certainly it wasn't specialized.
It was just whoever would hire him.
Right, so it wasn't all criminal stuff that he did, but that particular one that I found interesting.
Well, man, I didn't write down any of Washington's how he got where he was. Just.
Well, I told you I spent 20 hours reading stuff for this episode.
Yeah. All I can tell you is eventually he became our first president.
He became our first president. Well,
give you a little... he pretty much had every sickness there was back then.
Really?
And, his family all died from sicknesses. Mm-hmm. And, he had tuberculosis, smallpox, dysentery, malaria, carbuncle, pneumonia. And
well, no wonder his whole family died. He was given stuff because these are infectious diseases.
Oh yeah. Well, back then everybody had something.
Well, yeah. The average life expectancy was pretty dang short. Yeah.
But he, and actually, he died from malpractice. They would when you had any sort of sickness, it was very common to do bloodletting.
Mm-hmm.
And they would just kind of cut you and let you drain some blood, and that blood would, in theory, hold the sickness and you'd get better. But they drained 5 pints out of the guy.
Wow.
So, yeah, he's a big guy, but he couldn't handle it.
Was he large? I mean, physically large?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't, like I said, I didn't do as much research as you. And I don't want to start spouting out numbers that I know is going to be wrong.
Well, I know Abraham Lincoln was very tall, but he wasn't big. He was thin.
Yeah,
he was very thin.
He was a perfect wrestler then, huh?
Yeah. Evidently so. He was very, very good at it.
Did you know Washington was very self-conscious of 2 things? They were his
Let
teeth.
me guess. Okay, I was going to say one is his teeth.
Okay, his teeth.
Okay, what else?
You guess.
Well, that was my guess.
Oh, that was your guess.
That was my guess.
And his education.
Really?
Or lack thereof.
Okay.
Like, people say he was a quiet man,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not really that he was quiet. He was just so ashamed of his, gnarly teeth that he would barely move his lips to reveal his teeth. He would actually buy teeth from his slaves to put into his, dentures or whatever.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was, I guess, common back then. That wasn't too weird.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can I buy some teeth from you?
Oh, I'm glad I didn't live back then.
A Million Ways to Die in the West or whatever. Have you seen that movie?
I have not.
No. It's kind of silly, but it's pretty spot on. Like all the ways you could die
Really?
back then. Yeah.
No, I didn't. It looked kind of... Wasn't Charlize Theron in that?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, it had to look pretty stupid for me not to see it because I really like her a lot. But, no, I didn't see it. One of the things that President Lincoln did, moving ahead to when he was actually president, he established the Secret Service right before he was killed.
Yeah.
However, the Secret Service was not established to protect the president. The Secret Service was put there to battle rampant counterfeiting.
Really?
Yes. And it didn't even start doing anything about presidential protection until 1901 when 2 other presidents
were killed.
And they said, well, we got to find some way to look after these guys. But the Secret Service was in the Treasury Department and stayed there until 2003.
So they don't do counterfeit anymore?
They may. I don't know. But they stayed in the Treasury Department until 2003. At which time they were moved to, you want to take a guess? Think of the year, 03.
The White House?
Department of Homeland Security. After the terrorist attacks.
Okay.
So when the Department of Homeland Security was created after the terrorist attacks of 9/11, the Secret Service was moved from the Treasury Department into there.
Gotcha.
But I mean, that's what it took.
That's pretty recent, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they were there for, 140 years or something like that. So, yeah. Lincoln also is the only president to have obtained a patent. Had something to do with boats getting stuck in shallow water.
That's it?
You would have thought.
One?
You would have thought, especially way back when some people kind of did.
Kind of the invention age, I guess. So much to...
Yeah.
Speaking of only president to do something, Washington was the only president to fight in a battle while serving as president.
So he actually fought in a battle while being president.
Yep.
Well, he was the only one until the guy, and it was Bill Pullman that was president during Independence Day, because he actually got in a plane and flew to shoot
the mothership
aliens.
More power to him.
Hey, okay.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
oh,
and
yeah.
I've seen it, and the thing about it is I've really watched it more times than I should be willing to admit.
No, you can't watch that movie too much.
It's stupid. But something about it draws me to it. The special effects are great.
Yeah, especially for the time.
I think it might have even won an Oscar for special effects. But it's really dumb in a lot of ways. But I have probably watched bits and pieces of that movie 15 or 20 times. And I'm sitting there, was like, yeah, okay. They're letting the president go up in a plane. Yeah, okay, yeah. Of course, you could yell okay about 1,000 things in that movie, but anyway. So.
I remember the other day we were watching one of those movies for the Oscars, and the Terminator movie trailer comes on.
Right.
And it's got liquid robots running around shooting all these sci-fi weapons, and then they're driving down the road and this bus does like a front flip, and I look over and go, yeah, right.
And I said, that's what got a yeah right out of you. Out of all of this 3 minutes of complete insanity we've seen, that's what got a yeah right out of you. Speaking of going and watching movies for the sake of doing our Oscar show that will be the next one after this, you plan on going to see 50 Shades of Grey?
Yep.
Are you?
That's one of the... Katie's birthday is the 14th, and we're gonna... my plan was to do like a very nice dinner and all this, and she's like, hey, can we watch a movie also? I'm like, sure. But and then that's what she wants to watch. So
sounds reasonable.
I heard some pretty bad stuff about the movie, that once you get past the all right, this guy does what he does, and
did you read the book?
No.
Okay.
But once you get past all that, it's kind of a plotless movie, I've heard. So
it doesn't. I mean, I didn't read the book, and I think I'll sit this one out.
I'll keep you informed.
Oh yeah, please do. But February 14th, I found in my research, is also International Condom Day.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Valentine's Day.
Well, we all know that. Yeah, I didn't have to research that. We all know that. Well, we kind of skewed away from the old presidential thing here.
I don't know, Condom Day and President's Day. I got nothing else on George Washington.
Well, that's our tribute to President's Day and to Presidents Washington and Lincoln. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to just say a word about Mardi Gras, which we are right here in the heart of Mardi Gras season here in South Louisiana. And then I think we'll call that a wrap after that. But hang around. We'll be right back after this break.
Laissez bon temps rouler.
Let the good times roll, right?
I'm surprised you understood that.
I know a little bit of French.
That was not French.
Well, what is it?
I don't even know if did I even come close to how it's supposed to sound?
I think that's French.
Well, it's Creole
it's
French.
Close enough.
Yeah.
We'll call it French. I took 6 hours of French in college. I'm going to say I know French, and that was French.
Okay.
Mardi Gras. And all this research that I was doing for this episode of our show. Mardi Gras evidently actually goes back thousands of years. And
so they've been getting off Monday and Tuesday for that long?
Well, some people just get off Tuesday. You and I are fortunate our company's going to give us...
That is true.
Great, wonderful 4-day weekend. Oh my goodness, I am looking forward to this. We've still got another day of work before we get to it, though. But
if we survive Friday 13th.
Survive Friday the 13th around machinery. I'm going to make sure I keep all of my digits. I may just work fisted up all night so that nothing gets caught in a machine and I don't end up with 9 fingers. But anyway, so pre-Christianity, pagan spring and fertility rites and the Roman festivals and so on and so forth. So when Christianity arrived in Rome, and religious leaders just decided it was easier to incorporate these traditions into the new faith and abolish them altogether. And this is something that we actually see throughout the Christian calendar.
Well, yeah, Christmas. And
right, just pulling in dates that were already being observed for something else. So as a result of that, Mardi Gras just became the prelude to Lent, which is 40 days of penance between Ash Wednesday and Easter. Now, you were telling me you have never been in a church that observed Ash Wednesday.
Nope.
Or
never.
Lent itself.
Nope. Never had to. Now, we did like fast periodically throughout the year, and I don't know if other denominations do that.
Right.
Or do they just do the 140-day and that's it?
I know. I don't remember in my Methodist upbringing in North Louisiana having an Ash Wednesday service, but the church that I am a member of here, the Methodist Church I'm a member of here, does have an Ash Wednesday
and this
observance.
is a very, being this far south, maybe it's because of the region.
It probably is. Yeah. I'd say that's probably a strong possibility. As far as American Mardi Gras, historians believe that the very first one was March 3rd, 1699.
Wow.
French explorers had a small celebration just south of what is now New Orleans.
A small one?
A small one. Well,
how big were the floats?
1699. I don't know, maybe they
just
came
came
down
by
the river
on their pirogues shooting.
So that's 316 years ago. Yeah.
So in any of your research, did you find why beads are such a big deal?
I think I did read something, but I didn't type it. It was something I sort of glossed over.
Man, that seems crucial. I'm gonna say here's my made up version. Okay, so they started the floats and they started throwing out stuff, and they were throwing out gold necklaces. And so people were like killing each other over these gold necklaces, and now over time we just do beads.
I'm going to say nobody ever threw away gold. I'm gonna go out on a limb, and in fact, I'll tell you what. I'll do a double or nothing on the Tiger Woods never winning a major.
I'm not gonna. He just like quit pretty much. I'm gonna go double or nothing on that. All right, here's another one. Where did the floats even start?
I don't know.
Man,
I've got dates.
Okay, let's hear dates.
Okay, the street parties and the masked balls and the lavish dinners and all of that took hold across South Louisiana for several decades after this 1699 celebration, until the party poopers, Spanish, took over, and they said, no, we're not going to do this nonsense, and it stayed that way until Louisiana became a U.S. state in 1812, and then they were able to go Mardi Gras again.
Man, we should call this just a history episode. We're hitting so much history in this thing.
We are getting a lot of history in this thing. Hopefully it's interesting history. Louisiana is the only state to observe Mardi Gras as a legal holiday. However, Alabama and Mississippi also have sizable Mardi Gras festivals. My guess is that that's pretty much the coastal cities.
Well, I was about to say, because I grew up in northern Louisiana, and all I knew was we get out of school for Mardi Gras, and that's it.
Well, see, when I was growing up, we didn't.
Oh. Well, we got out.
Yeah.
We got out that Monday and Tuesday.
And I'm 95% sure they actually have at least one parade in Shreveport now, and that wasn't even heard of when I was growing up.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to embrace it better up there.
Well, yeah. I mean, any excuse to have a party or whatever. But,
that's something they're good at here.
Well, yeah, certainly. I plan on having a very quiet Mardi Gras holiday at home. You and I are going to work on an episode for release late next week. I'm going to do some painting, and I am going to enjoy very, very thoroughly being productive here at home and working toward my New Year's resolution, which was to be a more productive painter. So, anyway, it's Mardi Gras here in South Louisiana. You and I have the luxury of a 4-day weekend coming up. Enjoy your dinner, your movie. Happy birthday to Katie on Valentine's Day for me. Please tell her I said that.
Yeah, we'll have Katie on soon, actually, also.
Yes, yeah.
Didn't we say that in the last episode?
Yeah.
We'd have her on soon?
Yeah. She is coming up soon. Our next one, we are planning on talking about the movies and the Oscars and so on and so forth. And I have a tribute to something that happened 35 years ago that just left a huge impression on me and I definitely want to.
Yeah, you're not the only one. I mean, it's
it's
huge.
It's a big deal, and I still get chills when I remember it happening, or when I watch the movie that shows it.
Whoa! No spoilers.
That's all. They've made movies about thousands of things. So anyway, we've got a tribute to something, and we've got some movie talk coming up, and that'll probably
we'll probably have our guest reviewer on that one.
Yes,
if schedules work out.
Yeah, if schedules work out. I mean, that's our Academy Award show. So yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
And again, look for that one to come out around the 19th or 20th with the awards. Then that's Sunday night, the 22nd.
Yeah, so that's going to wrap up this episode. If y'all want to hit us up for any questions or topic ideas or whatever, I mean, we'd love to hear from y'all. Just email us at theboomerandxshow@yahoo.com. You can always contact us on our Facebook page. That's The Boomer and X Show. And go on iTunes and give us a review. It's pretty simple. I mean, I've had to explain it to a couple people actually how to review, but just when you're on our, I don't know if it's a page, like when you're looking at us on the Boomer and X Show in iTunes, you'll see it's real tiny. It says review, and that just helps us, grow and get more of an audience.
Yeah, it helps us know how we're doing.
Oh, definitely that. Yeah,
and
we know if we're doing 5-star or 1-star stuff.
From a just personal message, I appreciate our listeners so very much. We do put a lot of work into this. It's very important to us to bring you something of value. And so we appreciate you listening very, very much. And we'll be back in a few days with another one.
See y'all later.